Hello everyone and welcome, Nerdstorm here, and in this video I'm going to go over 5 of the most important simple tips that can help you get started with ESO's PvP. Whether you're a new player to ESO, an experienced veteran who hasn't delved into PvP too much, or even an experienced PvP player who'd like to learn from the experience of others, this video is just for you. Before we get started, I'd like to give a huge shout out to my patrons on Patreon for helping me keep my channel going and allowing me to create this video and many others. More on this in the end of the video. When getting into a fight, whether in Cyrodiil, Battlegrounds, or even just a casual duel, a lot of players don't know how to begin. This is where our first tip comes in. Prioritize your skills correctly. At the start of a fight, or even before, when you know a fight is about to begin, you want to make sure to preemptively cast your buff skills and prioritize those correctly. The high priority buffs and skills are obviously different for each class and build, but I'll try to generalize those to help keep it simple. Major Resolve is your main defensive buff, as it increases both your physical and spell resistance. You always want to make sure to have this buff active and refresh it before its effects wears off. There are many different skills that activate this buff, but whichever one you use on your build is a high priority skill. Major Sorcery for Magicka builds or Brutality for Stamina builds is your main offensive buff, as it increases your spell or weapon damage by 20% and is very crucial for both your damage dealing as well as your healing done. Just like Major Resolve, this is a super high priority buff to keep up. In addition to your high priority buffs, you also want to make sure to prioritize your heal over time effects if you have any, or your recast heals, as those won't give you a burst heal on demand unless you made sure to apply those ahead of time, and burst heals and heals in general are super important in PvP. 2. Positioning is everything. From allowing you to survive tough scenarios to capitalizing on damage and getting a kill, your positioning in a fight can really make an unimaginable difference and sometimes win or lose you the whole fight. Take this battleground as an example. I push up the stairs to join the fight, but as soon as I see I'm within the range of damage, I instinctively pull away and start stepping backwards to stay in a safer position. As soon as I see that I have the upper hand in the fight, I allow myself to step closer to the enemy and then proceed to walk around them in a circle to prevent a lot of their attacks from hitting me. As soon as I see the enemy team approaching, I start pulling back towards the doorway again, which allows me to quickly break line of sight when my health gets lower, heal myself back up, and when I'm prepared and my burst is ready, I push back into them and then again walk in a circle around them to avoid as much of their damage as I can until I kill them all. While this might seem complex to do, it's something your brain picks up on automatically when you get a bit more experienced. But for starters, try to just mind your position whenever possible, and place yourself further from enemies when at risk of taking a lot of damage, and closer to them when you feel safer. It's very common to see 1vXers or small-scale players in Cyrodiil run away from fights and kite enemies until they get to groups of rocks or corners of buildings. This is a common practice for the exact same reasoning. It allows the player to move around an object to break the enemy's line of sight and prevent them from damaging the player until they are healed up and ready to retaliate. Three, value your life more than a kill. A very common mistake players tend to make in PvP is committing too hard to a fight and trying as hard as possible to kill a low health player, even at the risk of dying when their health is low. To avoid making such a mistake, it's important to simply remember your life should mean more to you than a single kill. Look at it from a mathematical point of view. If your group has 3 players alive and the enemy group has 4, if your team values getting a kill more than healing up and risk dying for each kill, even if each of you manages to get a kill, the last enemy player can finish all 3 of you without risk and get the victory. Instead, if you focus on healing up and only choose to attack and kill enemy players when you're not risking your life, you'll have a much higher chance to win the fight, especially if the enemy team doesn't follow this tip. This whole concept might sound a bit stupid or silly to some of you, but do keep in mind that in many PvP games such as shooters, sacrificing your own life to get a kill off an enemy team could be worth it if your team can capitalize on this move to get a better position or additional kills down the line. In ESO, however, due to the very swingy nature of PvP and the fast-paced healing, such moves aren't ideal and tend to lose your team more than it gains, especially if your side is outnumbered. 4. Burst is often better than pressure. As I mentioned before, healing is very fast-paced and very effective in PvP, and thus there are two main methods of killing enemy players despite them healing: bursting or pressuring them. Pressuring an enemy means dealing large amounts of damage to them continuously, which outweigh the amount of healing they can do until eventually they are killed. This is usually done through stacking many damage over time abilities on the enemy player. However, can be very hard to pull off if the enemy player you are fighting is very tanky or has a strong healing power. Bursting an enemy player means combining a lot of different damage methods, such as delayed damage skills, enchantments, and pre-applied debuffs, to take down a huge portion of the enemy's health in one moment, and to kill them before they get the chance to heal. Unlike pressuring, which requires your damage power to be stronger than an enemy's healing power and often takes a very long time, bursting enemy players tends to be the more effective route, catching an enemy player by surprise and killing them before they get the chance to react. Some classes are naturally better at creating big bursts than others, but on any class, timing your skills correctly to create a good burst that kills your target could be key to winning a fight. 5. Don't be afraid to lose or die. Many newer players in PvP, and sometimes even veteran ones, tend to get too afraid to die and avoid participating in fights as a result. While this route might seem safer, it often prevents players from practicing, gaining experience, and learning to play their classes and builds better. Always remember, there's no real penalty for dying in ESO's PvP other than maybe having to ride for a few seconds or minutes to join the fight again. It's far better to jump into a fight and practice your technique even if you lose than to stand on keeps walls and watch other people have all the fun. Taking that leap and rushing into a fight or accepting a duel or queuing into a battleground match could sometimes be a bit scary, but after you do it a few times you'll feel a lot more comfortable and quite likely be happy that you tried. Even if you fail or lose, you always learn something new. You might learn to prioritize healing earlier in the fight, to position yourself differently, or to focus a different target in your next encounter, or at the very least what your character and build can handle and what gets you killed. And remember, you cannot win if you don't try. Those were my top 5 beginner's tips for ESO's PvP. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something new. If you did, please make sure to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more. If you'd like me to make more videos like this one, perhaps tips for starting to 1vx, improving your positioning, or anything else, let me know down in the comment section below. And here's another little tip for you. If you haven't heard yet, I now have my own website called nernstorm.com full of PvP builds written by myself and some of the best PvP content creator ESO has to offer, as well as many guides on plenty of subjects, so go check it out for more of my content. I'd also like to thank once again all my patrons on Patreon for supporting me and allowing me to make videos such as this one. I can't thank you guys enough for all your support. And you there, if you like my content and would like to support my making of it, make sure to check out my Patreon page. Link will be down in the description. This is the best way to support my channel, and you can get a ton of really cool benefits from it too, from shoutouts on my videos to one-on-one sessions with me and many others, so please give it a check. Thanks again everyone for watching this video, and I'll see you all in the next one.